welcome back, and today I wanted to show you guys my comparison of the Nikon ZF and the Nikon ZFC. Yes, I have both. I'm not keeping both, right? So I actually already bought the Nikon ZF before in the Bordeaux red color, and I returned it. I'm gonna put a link to the video somewhere in the description so you can see what I thought about it at first. And now I'm going to talk about why I repurchased it and my thoughts about both of them, having owned the Nikon ZFC since the 1st of January and having played around with the Nikon ZF for the last couple of weeks as well. So let's talk about this too, why I have both of them. As you can see, they look very much the same. They are both the all black versions of the model. The ZFC I bought while I was in Osaka in Japan on New Year's Day, and then I bought the ZF here in Australia via Amazon. Now, from first glance, they look pretty much the same. Even their buttons are the same. The only thing that I would be able to say at first glance that is difference is that the ZF actually came with a hot shoe cover, whereas the ZFC didn't. Even when you're looking at them side by side, in the front, you're probably only going to notice that the ZFC has a C and the ZF doesn't. Size-wise, the ZF is a little bit larger, and it's the same when they're on the side. It's also a little bit taller. And I'm gonna insert here the clip of me weighing both of them with my food scale. And as you can see, the difference is about 270 grams. The ZF being the heavier one of the two, as you could probably imagine. Now, I'm not going to talk to you guys about specs because I'm not a professional. I'm not a professional photographer. I do this as a hobby only when I want to. And yes, I spend money on my hobbies. Right. So there's a lot of other professionals out there who would be able to talk to you about the spec sheets, like stuff about chromatic aberrations, distortions, vignetting, things like that. I'm going to talk to you about my day-to-day experience with these two cameras, and which one's going to stay and which one's going to go. Okay, so yeah, both of them have that retro look and feel. They both come with the dials that I am going to give credit to Fujifilm for bringing back that retro look. Yeah, they both have varying angle LCDs. This one, the ZFC has 20 megapixels, whereas the ZF has 24. It's not that big of a difference. The main difference between the two is the ZF is a full frame camera, whereas the ZFC is a cropped sensor camera, APS-C. Okay, yeah, they both have the Z mount. And I was actually very happily surprised to find out that they are able to take on the same lenses. So when I purchased the ZF, I purchased the kit with the 40mm f2. When I purchased the ZFC, I purchased it as body only, and then separately purchased the DX24 1.7. Okay, and then I also purchased the Nikkor 28-75 f2.8, and this has been my go-to walk-around lens because of the focal points that I'm able to achieve with it, starting obviously from 28. Now, when I'm using that with the ZFC, because this is cropped center, I have to multiply the focal length by 1.5. So just an FYI on that one. Now, in terms of my shooting experience with both of these, obviously the heavier one is a little bit harder to lug around, especially when I pair it with the Nikon 28 to 75. This is about, how heavy is this lens? Okay, so I just weighed it with my food scale, including the hood and the lens cap. It's 641 grams. So when I pair it with the Nikon ZF, which is 724 grams, it goes over a kilo very easily. Whereas with a ZFC, which is 455 grams plus the 641, a little bit over maybe 1.1 kilos versus 1.3 kilos. So it can be quite tiring to carry it around with the ZF. In saying that, because the ZF has this teeny tiny bit of a grip, it is easier to hold rather than the very flat surface of the ZFC. So I have actually bought the small rig grip for the ZFC because the intention was for me to keep it in my collection permanently. So, and it really does help with the ergonomics of the camera when I have the grip on it. I'm just trying to put this on so you can see what it looks like on. And Small Rig was really great at designing this because it looks seamless with the ZFC. It looks like it's actually part of the camera. The grip has got a more rubberized feel as opposed to the faux leather bits of this camera. This, when you tick on that, it sounds very plastic. Let me just put it near the microphone. Whereas with the Small Rig one, yeah, very rubberized. It actually feels a lot like the rubberized material on my Canon M6 Mark II, which I'm using to film now. Now, comparing that with the leatherette of the ZF, I honestly can't really tell the difference. Some people I've seen say that the leatherette on the ZF feels, I guess, more luxurious than the ZF. To me, they both feel cheap, honestly. You can probably see from here, and I'll try and do that test again, where it's not as plasticky feeling as the ZFC, but it is certainly not as great as the rubberized feel of my Canon. And my Canon M6 Mark II is 4 years old, and it's not as expensive as this. In Australia, the body of the ZF is around $3,200 depending on which shop you get it from. That's just the body, and that's just the black version. The colored versions on the Nikon Australia website is $3,500 body only. Okay, the ZFC body only here in Australia is around $1,200, so that's like $2,000 difference, mind you. And if you get it from the Nikon website, I think it's about $1,500. So again, $2,000 difference. So yeah, and they don't really look that much different. Even like the dials, as I am looking at them right now, are basically the same. The main difference that I can tell from the ZF is that it has the dedicated black and white lever. They both have the small screen that tells you what the aperture is. They both have the dials for exposure compensation. Both of the recording buttons are at the top. The ZF shutter allows you to put in a shutter cap because it's got a screw. But then basically the aperture, well, it doesn't actually have an aperture dial. It has a shutter dial and it has an ISO dial, but they're basically the same, to be honest. Not much of a difference there. So why did I sell or return my original ZF? That's the Bordeaux Red. I talked about that in the other video. Then I bought this while I was in Japan, the ZFC. I was pretty happy with it. It made me want to go back out and start taking pictures again. It kind of reignited my passion for photography. It was lightweight enough that I was able to bring it around. Paired with the 24mm f1.7 was a great walk around camera, street photography and such. I do like the idea of having a zoom lens so that I can play with different focal lengths. But honestly, I bought the zoom lens more so for capturing video so that I could take different focal lengths when I am filming. So I thought I was going to be happy with this. I really liked it. I like the feel of it. But the main reason why I decided to try the ZF again was this has in-body image stabilization. The ZFC does not. They both have electronic vibration reduction, which kind of helps, but isn't good enough in certain situations for the ZFC. So when you are filming in broad daylight, that's fantastic. It works great. There's still a little bit of shake, but it's not really that bad as opposed to when you don't have the VR on. But as soon as it gets cloudy, a little bit darker, when the sky turns gray, that's out the window. Last night I was taking a picture of like a random building across from where I live, and the camera was shooting at 1/3 of a second, which is wow, super slow, and there was no blurring. The picture came out great. Even with handheld videography, you can definitely get really good outcomes without a tripod. And I will be inserting some video clips to give you an example of that, but I really did enjoy this. Walking around with it this morning, it really gave me a really good idea of how this camera works. Is it worth the $2,000 difference between the ZFC and the ZF? I'm gonna leave that up to you to decide. It's your money, you do whatever you want with it. But to me, I'm going to be selling my ZFC and I am going to be keeping my ZF. It was a difficult decision. Every time I think about how much money is the difference between these two, I want to go back to the ZFC, but I know that the ZF is something that I am going to grow with. And I think it's also time that I venture into full frame cameras because I've always had cropped sensor cameras. So I think this is going to be a good one. I have actually ordered the grip for the ZFC. It's the newer one, which I've read reviews about saying that it is much more substantial than the small rig grip. So I ordered that. Unfortunately, Amazon decided that even though I'm a Prime member and got same-day shipping, they weren't going to ship it on the same day. Well, they did ship it, but somehow the delivery is, I guess, lost in transit. But anyway, I have been loving playing around with the ZF. Will definitely be keeping. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep it in this color or if I will return it in to be replaced with a different color. I did like that Bordeaux red quite a bit. My concern is that in the long term, would it keep its color? Would it fade? And if it fades, how is it going to fade? So yeah, that's the thing. So I don't know yet. I do like the classic all black style, but you know, it is what it is. It's all about aesthetics when it comes to this retro looking cameras, because let's face it, I bought it because it was beautiful. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave me a like, and yeah, let's discuss in the comment section down below. Would you spend an additional $2,000 on a camera?